Hello everyone, back to you in today's first video. We've got our first named storm of the season. Storm Aileen will be with us tonight and will give us a spell of wet and windy weather. So I'll just talk you through everything that's going on with that in a moment. And then this afternoon's second video, going to have a look at the weather next week, 10 days, and also the CFSB too, for the coming month as well. I haven't got time to get it all crammed in to one video, so I thought we'd just have a quick look at what's going on tonight. So this is the facts chart from the UK Met Office for 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, when Aileen will actually be moving out into the North Sea, and the worst will be nearly over at that point, but still very windy down the eastern side of the country. This area of low pressure won't head off into Europe, and we'll be left in a cool, showery sort of northwesterly flow. So this is how the GFS is picking things up. This is the area of low pressure that is named now Storm Aileen by the UK Met Office at 6 o'clock this evening, just heading in towards Ireland and also into the far southwestern part of England. That area of low pressure then runs through the central part of the country. That will bring very heavy rain to central areas, so parts of southern Scotland, northern England, probably Northern Ireland, down in towards North Wales. You get very wet. The strongest of the winds will then be on the southern side of this area of low pressure. That's going to be through parts of southern England initially, and then as the low pressure moves into the North Sea, this is 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, as the low pressure is going into the North Sea, then we get some very strong winds pushing through parts of northern England, North Wales, down in towards the North and East Midlands, also through into Lincolnshire and East Anglia. Parts of Yorkshire probably coming in with that as well. That's probably when we get the strongest of the winds. So in the second half of the night through to start of tomorrow morning, we might get winds averaging at sort of 40, 50 miles an hour through some central areas, and gusts perhaps going up to 60 or 70 miles an hour. That is enough to do damage, do structural damage, blow down trees, and possibly even blow over lorries. So it will be pretty wild later on in the night into tomorrow morning. This is how the GFS is picking up the winds, so fairly light winds really at 6 o'clock in the evening, but you notice these yellow colours out to west of us, that's strong winds piling into the west from the Atlantic, and through the night the winds strengthen. So this takes up to midnight. The green colours here showing it's going to be a windy night across all parts of the country, but the strongest winds, as usual, tending to be around the coast. And then we get that very strong push of winds as we go through to the end of the night and tomorrow morning down the eastern side. So through parts, again, of Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, down in towards northern England, possibly in towards the north of the East Midlands through East Anglia, you could be seeing gusts of wind there up to 60 or 70 miles an hour. And averaging at sort of 40, 50 miles an hour in quite a few areas. So a really windy end to the night over in the eastern part of the country. Those winds intensify through the North Sea and head off in towards parts of the Low Countries as we go through tomorrow morning. And although it will stay windy across the country tomorrow, the strongest of winds will be easing down. Also, quite a bit of wet weather coming in this. We've got heavy rain in towards Ireland, Wales, southwest England as early as 6 o'clock this evening. Then that rain spreads eastwards across much of Northern Ireland, really from Northern Ireland, Northern England southwards, turns wet in the first half of the night. The persistent rain probably clears away over towards the eastern side as we get through into the second half of the night, but we get a hook back of rain through Northern England. As I say, it's on the southern side of that rain that will have the strongest of the winds. This rain could give some localised flooding some parts of northern England as well. Very strong winds then coming in on the southern side of that low pressure, particularly again through those eastern parts of the country. That's how the GFS is picking things up. It's high resolution Euro 4 model from website Weather Online. You have a link to Weather Online on the links page. Here's the wet weather piling into the west at 6 o'clock this evening, and then the rain sweeps eastwards through the course of the first part of the night, driven in by strong winds. It'll all be windy in the first part of the night. So the rain moves through in the south very quickly, but it hangs back across particularly southern Scotland and northern England through much of the night. So even in 6 o'clock in the morning, still pouring with rain there across some parts of northern England. It's as the low pressure moves into the North Sea that we get that strongest push of winds coming down into parts of northern England, particularly down in towards the parts of North Wales, North Midlands, through Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, down into East Anglia. Some southeastern parts of the country could be quite windy as well. These are the wind gusts from Euro 4, so fairly light winds at 6 o'clock in the evening, although beginning to pick up down in the southwest. Through into 9 o'clock in the evening and then up to midnight, it's turning windier across England and Wales. You notice that for Scotland, not too windy there in those yellow colours, so they're light winds, but further south it is turning windier across much of England and Wales, probably by midnight winds going up to 20-30 miles an hour in places, with gusts a little bit more than that around hills and coasts. And then in the second half of the night, that's when the strongest of the winds develop, particularly here at 3 o'clock in the morning through parts of northern England down in towards Lincolnshire, through East Anglia into the north and East Midlands as well. And then very windy on this eastern side at 6 o'clock in the morning, so particularly Lincolnshire, Yorkshire, down into East Anglia and some southeastern parts of England. Very windy. There could be gusts of wind going up to 60 or 70 miles an hour, and sort of mean wind speeds of 45, 50 miles an hour on this eastern side of the country. The wind's beginning to calm down a bit out in west, and never really gets all that windy across Scotland. You sort of escape up there. And I'll just leave you with the weather warnings from the UK Met Office. So they have issued some early weather warnings for parts of Northern Ireland and the far north of England. You've got a rain warning here, so there could be some disruption from rain from midnight through to 6 o'clock in the morning. Probably started before midnight, actually, but through the early part of tomorrow, there's a rain warning through Northern Ireland and parts of Northern England. And then further south, we've got yellow and amber warnings for wind. So that's particularly for southwestern parts of England into Wales, up in towards southern parts of northern England and down into the Midlands, then over towards Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, and through into East Anglia, down to southeastern England. In those areas, yes, we could be seeing gusts of wind up to 65 to 75 miles an hour. In fact, the UK Met Office write up on this says Storm Aileen will bring a brief spell of very strong winds with gusts of 65 to 75 miles per hour during the early hours of Wednesday. Longer journey times by road, rail and air are looking likely, with restrictions on roads and bridges. Damage to trees and perhaps buildings as well as power cuts are expected. Flying debris and large coastal waves are possible, and these could lead to injuries. So a pretty wild spell of weather coming up in the coming few hours. It'll start this evening in the west, and it'll spread northwards and eastwards. Going to be a lot of wet weather across the central swathe of the country, and the strongest of the winds a little bit south of that band of persistent rain. We'll get some wet weather through the early part of the night, and then the wind gets up the second half of the night. So our first named storm of the season, and it's pretty early for this really, I think, so it'd be interesting to see whether this is setting the pattern for the autumn, whether we get a few named storms this autumn. Last year I think it was very quiet through the autumn, so it could be this year going to be a little bit different. That's all for now. Later on today, we'll have a look at when next week, 10 days, and also, of course, CFSV2 for the next month. So come back for that this afternoon. That's all for now. And thanks so much for watching.